Hello friends, Jermaine here, and in this video we're going to be looking at how we can write Dart programs that run as a command line tool. Let's get started. So as of Dart 2.6, the Dart team released a tool called Dart2Native, which takes a Dart program and essentially you're able to compile it to a standalone executable, it says here. So that means for Windows, you can create an exe file. For Mac, you can create the relevant executable for that platform, and also for Linux. And in this example, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing a static file server. So that will be a standalone executable, which essentially will take any folder you have on your system and it will spin up a HTTP server serving that folder essentially as your directory. So we're going to set up our project, and I'll do what I did in the last video, which was creating a file upload server, and I'm going to generate the files and folders for our project by using stagehand, and then creating a console full application. And then from there we'll just run the pubget command to update our packages. And in fact, I'm going to cancel that because before updating our packages, we need to add two dependencies that we're going to be using. So the first dependency is the args package, which will take in flags, extra options to we can add extra options to our executable, which this package provides a nice interface for extracting those. And then we've got our HTTP server, which contains a virtual directory class, which allows us to pre-select any folder and treat that as the directory we serve. Okay, so once those two are added, I'll save that, and then I'll run pubget. And once our packages are updated, we will go to our bin directory, go to main.dart, get rid of all this jazz, and then we'll start by implementing our logic. So let's import the Dart.io class, which contains the classes for creating our server, and then we're also going to import the args package, and we will import also the HTTP server package, and then we'll create our main function marked out as async, and then we're ready to go. So let's start by creating a HTTP server. I'll probably speed this part up because we've done it several times. So in this example, we're just writing out the response, hello world, and then closing the response. So before we go any further, let's just test this works, and I'm going to add a configuration for Dart. So I should be able to run this using F5. And then let's go to our browser, and then when I come to localhost 8085, we get hello world. So now what we need to do is, instead of writing out our response as such, we are going to create a virtual directory, and then we will give that a directory which essentially acts as our public folder. So that will contain an index file, and that is what will be served to whoever comes to our web server, or wherever the web server is launched from. Okay, so at the root of our project, I'll just add a web folder. Then in there, let's add an index.html file. We'll create a HTML5 file, and then here I'll just add a heading 1 element, and we'll just say hello world. Oops, hello world. And what else can we do? Let's add a new file, call it styles.css, and here just add some simple styles, and then let's link to that style sheet, styles.css. So based on what we've created, now we are going to create a virtual directory, and then we'll just call it virdir. We'll instantiate virtual directory class, and then the directory we're serving is called web. And then also I'll enable the allow directory listing option. We'll see what that does in a moment. So from this virtual directory now, we'll get rid of all of this, and then we will pass the request to our virtual directory. So let's save this, and let's restart our server. and let's go to our browser and let's reload this page. So once we've reloaded, the request gets sent to our virtual directory class, which, because we enabled this option, allow directory listing, it essentially lists what's contained within our directory. So of course we've got our index and then our style. So if I click on that, we see our index page, and of course our styles.css is loaded because the heading one is colored blue. So this is pretty useful. If we want to compile this now to an executable using Dart2Native, we can. So I'll come to the terminal, and then we'll call the Dart2Native executable name as such, and then this takes in our Dart file, so which is in bin main.dart, and then we need to define the name of the output, so we pass in the output flag, and then the name of our output, we'll just call it static file server. And I believe for the Mac we don't need to specify any file extension, so I'll just call it static file server, and then I'll run that. And then after a couple of moments, yeah, we got our generated executable here. So from our root project, I should be able to run it as such. Okay, so through an exception, because yeah, of course we got our server already running. So let me close that and let's run it again. And there we go, we got our server running. So if I visit here again and reload it, we can find it still running perfectly. Okay, so we got our executable here and it's running as expected. Alright, so now let's make this a bit interesting now, because right now our executable is only serving from the web directory, and it only works also if the port that is available is 8085. Let's make this a bit more smart by making these options configurable. Okay, so that's where the args package comes in. And what the args package offers us is a class called args parser. Then we'll instantiate an arg parser, and arg parser allows you to define a set of supported options. So we can add an option, and then the name of our option, we'll call it dir for directory, and also we can set a default using defaults too. So we'll default that to web, and then we'll add another option, and this option will just contain our port, and then we'll set default for that as well, and it takes in a string, so we'll just do that, 8085. Okay, so now how do we use this? So in our main function, all the command line arguments we pass in. So if I do static file server and then I pass in my dir, for instance, and then my port, all of these options are passed into the main function as an argument. So this argument is a list of type string, and of course we can just call it arguments. So that's already passed in there for us by Dart. Wherever we specify here gets passed into here. So this means for us now we're able to grab our parsed results by using our parser object, and then we'll invoke the parse method, and then we just pass in our arguments. Okay, so now from our parsed results, in fact, let's just print that out. Yeah, we got our results, so directory A, and then for our port number we got 2345. So now this is promising because we can pass that in here. In fact, I'll do this instead. For that, we'll convert it to an integer, and then so the port will go in here, and then the serve directory would go in here. So I'm going to save this, and then let's run this again. So if I come here and I run this, I refresh the page, I'm still able to access my index and my style sheet. Let's stop this, and then let's create a new folder. So at the root, we create a new folder, we'll just call it public, for instance, and then let's copy these two files. So I'll copy that, and then in public I'll paste it, and for the index file, let's just say hello public instead. And in fact, in the styles, we'll make the heading green. Okay, let's run the main.dart file and let's pass our directory, and then we can specify the port number as well, and so that should be running. And if I visit our browser, our port 1234, we find we've got our files here, and then clicking index shows hello public with our style added. So I'm gonna kill that, and then let's use Dart2Native to compile this, and then that generates our static file server. So now we can run our executable, and let's just pass it a port. I'll hit enter for that. So I should be able to do 2345. So if I click on index, we see our hello world text, and of course we can access our style sheet. So this is served from the web directory as our default because I did not specify it. So if I specify the directory, it should serve it from the public directory. So if I do that, yeah, so hello public, there we go. I decided I'm going to do one last thing before I finish the video. So we are allowing directory listing by default. What we can do is define a directory handler, and we can use that essentially to serve our index.html file if it exists. If we define our directory handler function, what we can do is we can look for the path to our index file. So this should create a URI object containing a path to our index file. And then what we'll do is we'll call our serve file method on our virtual directory object, which takes in a file object, and then we'll say index URI dot, we'll convert that to a file path, and then second argument remains the same, which is our HTTP request. So let's save this and then run our server again, and if I reload this, it should display the contents of our index file by default. If let's say we don't have an index file, so I'll stop this and let's rename this to something else, index underscore for instance, and then I run the server again and then I reload, then we should just get a blank screen. And in fact, if you like, you can make this optional. If you add an extra option here and then you pass it, we can pass in our command line, and based on that option we can enable this or not enable that. So I'll leave that to you to try out, and I hope this was extra helpful. If you've got any feedback, do let me know down in the comments below. If you've got any questions, if you've got any tutorial suggestions, anything you want me to help you look at, let me know down in the comments below and I will try and address it. Thank you.